Sunday today, Be'ez Hashem, is Hashgacha Peratis day today. I must tell you that over the last few days, I mentioned this to one of the Heilige Talmidim in America, and he said to me that after a few days, I spoke to him already afterwards. He said to me, wow, all of a sudden I'm thinking in a different way, like, oh, that's Hashgacha Peratis, not Hashgacha Peratis. It changes your whole mindset. It really, really does. I have to say, Rabbi said the emails are coming in. I've yet to find any of you sending in an email, so Rabbi said, please send me in. office@basedavid.com. Send in an email with Hashgacha Peratis. We're going to read them in Sheh. Okay? We're going to read them in Sheh. It's going to be very, very geschmack. I have a bunch to tell you. Today I want to start with my own, because a lot of people are asking, what defines Hashgacha Peratis? What lemaisa is Hashgacha Peratis? Right? So it's impossible to give an exact answer, but I think with a few examples may possibly help you. First of all, we have to understand, to really realize that the Ribbono Shel Olam is kaviyachol holding our hand wherever we go, whatever we do, is really a tremendous thing. It's an amazing thing to realize that every event in our lives, not always are we zoche to see the end result, not always are we zoche to see the Ribbono Shel Olam's hand, but sometimes we are. Sometimes we get a little bit of an inkling, we get a little bit of an insight into like, oh wow, I realize now that if I wouldn't have not done that, then I would have been somewhere else right now. Everything changes. We sometimes can look back in our own life and see our own lives and say, wow, look where we are now. It's because of A, B, C, and now we're at D. So everything's a Hashgacha Peratis, everything's a sequel, right? The way the Ribbono Shel Olam runs the world, sometimes we get to see, not always, but sometimes we get to see. The Chovos HaLevavos writes, and this is really where we're getting to. There's a Mordecai Chovos HaLevavos, and it's in Sha'ar Bechina. Sha'ar Bechina is the most incredible Sha'ar. They all are. But this one is just so incredibly penetrating that it changes a person's perspective of life, because it goes to how the Ribbono Shel Olam created the world and how everything you see the Ribbono Shel Olam in the world. As I state in the Chovos HaLevavos Sha'ar Bechina. So he writes that the miracles that the Ribbono Shel Olam showed through his hand and the change of nature, the ways of the world, are the most incredible things, and the purpose of all of these things, says the Chovos HaLevavos, is ultimately for us to believe in the Ribbono Shel Olam. So again, this reiterates, this goes again to say what we said last time on Thursday, where we discussed that, what is Hashgacha Peratis? Why are we doing this, right? Sometimes people say, such a babyish thing, well, you're learning Hashgacha Peratis in yeshiva? What are you, back in 7th grade again? You know, come on, seriously? But it's such a toys, it's such a mistake. It really is. Maybe in a Chanamim, when we were little kids, we should have learned it, and maybe we did, but maybe on a low level. But now we see things in a different light. And the idea of, as I said to you, of these, series of this initiative is really to train ourselves throughout our lives that the Ribbono Shel Olam runs every single sequence, every single event, every single minuscule of our lives. And eventually when you start to see the Hashgacha Peratis, and I told you, I've already spoken to someone literally in the last 3 days, from Thursday to today, who's already testified that, oh wow, the more I think of it, the more I see Hashgacha Peratis in my life. And that really is what we're doing over here. And that's how choshev this actually is. Rav Victor Miller says a beautiful idea. He says, if you look at many of the parashas in the Torah, they start with a vav. Many of the parashas start with a vav. The first word of the parasha starts with a vav. What's pshat? Vav means and. It's almost like a continuation. It's a new parasha. Why does it start with the vav? So Rav Victor Miller Zatzal answers that we have to realize it's a message for our own lives. Everything's a continuation. From the beginning of Bereshis all the way until the Zos HaBracha, it's one big continuation. And therefore, from the moment the Ribbono Shel Olam created the world until today, it's one big continuation. The Ribbono Shel Olam is running the world, pulling the strings, directing everything. It's the most incredible idea for a person to realize. It reminds me of a gewaltige Maisa. Somebody asked a very wealthy man, extremely wealthy man, how did you become wealthy? Tell me the secret. How is it? You're such a wealthy guy. How'd you do it? Who doesn't want to know the secret, right? Everybody wants to know the secret of wealth. These wealthy people, like, how did they get there? So somebody had the audacity of asking such a guy, how'd you become wealthy? Do you know what he said? He said, I'll tell you what I did. I went to the marketplace one day. I didn't have much money on me. I had a few pennies. So I managed to get an apple. So I took this apple, I started shining it, and really making it look beautiful and shiny. And then I went around the market selling. Anybody want a beautiful, fresh, shiny apple? And a lot of people says, oh yeah, it's really nice. Well, I'll take it. So I sold it for a few more pennies, right? I took the extra money and I went back to the apple guy and I bought some more apples. And I shined those. And before you know it, I had already a stall at the marketplace. And he says, this guy's listening. He's like, that's incredible. That's amazing. That's how you made all the money? He said, no, actually, I married a very, very wealthy girl, and I inherited all the money that my father-in-law had, right? Boom, there it is. Like sometimes we think we know, this is because of this, this is because of this, and then the Rebbeinu Shalom comes along and changes everything. And we have to realize that everything comes by Hashgacha Peratis. So what I want to do today, I'm not reading out the emails, even though we got emails in, but I want to tell you my own personal stories that I've been writing myself. I can't preach over here about, recording Hashgacha Peratis if I'm not doing it myself. So I started myself. Some of you probably know these stories, but I want to reiterate them because I want to bring them into the shir, because I really want to show that some of them are not earth-shattering stories. And I told you, it doesn't necessarily mean we have to open up an art scroll book and say, ooh, that's an art scroll Hashgacha Peratis story book worthy. It could be just a regular event in our lives. And again, like I said, just to think of these things and go through your week. I do this with my kids on Shabbos. What happened this week that was Hashgacha Peratis? In the beginning it was like, I don't know about Hashgacha Peratis stories. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, hold on a minute. Actually, I do. So I want to mention to you a couple of them that I've been writing down myself. I mentioned this to you before, but I want to mention it again. Number one, I was on the plane on the way to New York. And the best stories happen on the plane. My son Tainas, that his Rosh Hashiva only takes taxis in Eretz Yisrael just to get the taxi stories. Right? That's really Tainas. But I don't know. But anyway, so I was on the plane. Normally the truth is, I think I mentioned it before the plane. I mentioned before I went on this trip, and I said, all these stories on the plane, how come it never happens to me? Maybe the truth is they do, but you don't realize it. Some people are just more, I guess, aware. So this time I was looking out. I've got to come back with a story. I've got to come back to Yeshiva with a story. So Baruch Hashem, what happened? As I met this very choshev Israeli Rosh Hashiva, young guy, he opened up a yeshiva, a very good yeshiva. We're in touch actually, Adayim Azeh. And he starts talking to me. Now, most of you know me already by now. I don't like people talking to me on a plane, right? I normally have headphones and I put it on even without anything playing whatsoever, just so no one should talk to me. I've got a lot of work to do on the plane. It's that I like leave a lot of things, okay, this I'll do on the plane, this on the plane. I come to the plane with like a stack of stuff, like hopefully get to it. And then I realize when they tell us like we're landing, like, no, please, we need more time, right? Everyone's like, yes, we're landing. I'm like, no, I need extra time because I haven't managed to finish everything. Anyway, so I meet this Israeli guy. And he starts schmoozing to me and schmoozing to me and schmoozing to me. And then he asks to see the brochure of Yeshiva. He wants to see the video of Yeshiva and the website. And I'm like, what do I need this for? Seriously, I have so much to do. I'm thinking to myself, why? What do I need this for? Like, he sat next to me. Why did it happen? What's pshat? And he starts telling me that he has a problem with his credit card. I don't know. What about this? What about that? I don't know. Anyway, I get my car, my rent-a-car. I think it was from Thrifty. The cheapest one I could find. And I'm driving out, it was like 5:30 in the morning, I needed to get to a Nate's Minyan so I could start the day. And I'm driving out and I see this guy standing there with his suitcase, as before at the barrier when they let you out with your car, he's standing there. So I rolled down the windows, everything okay? He's like, no, I've got a big problem, my credit card doesn't work, they will not let me rent a car, how am I going to go? So I said, maybe I'll come and help you. So I went inside to the car rental, because he doesn't speak a word of English, the guy. I don't know how he comes to it. I love these people. They come to America, not a word of English, and off they go, right? They're ready to collect money. It's unbelievable. It's mamish noya. Anyway, so I go in there and I'm like trying to help him. Maybe you want this credit card, I'll use my credit card. And the guy at the counter is like, what, you're going to use your credit card? You know this guy? No, we just met on the plane. Well, you can use your credit card to help him? I said, well, it's a year, what's the difference? We'll help him out, right? Didn't work. No, it has to be his credit card. No chance, not going to work. Brand new credit card, he didn't activate it yet. Okay. You know what? I said to the guy, do me a favor. Come with me in the car. Bring a suitcase. We'll go daven. And you'll go to the local bank and we'll figure out the credit card and you'll make it work. Fine. He says, thank you so much. In the car, he says, we have a course I to you. I'm going to take you. Do you have a particular minion that you want to go to? I said, no, I don't care. I normally go to Landau's, whatever. What's the difference? I'll go to any minion. I don't care. So he says, come with me to a Sephardi shul. I'll introduce you to some future donors for your yeshiva. I said, beautiful. What could I have better than that? So mamish, that's what happened. I got to the shul, he introduced me. It happens to be that one guy came over to me and says to me, do you speak on Torah anytime? So this guy's looking at me and thinking, I brought you here, I thought no one knows you. And they know you, but Baruch Hashem. Lemaisi introduced me to some amazing people. And mamish b'Hashgacha Peratis, here I am. I met this guy afterwards. I took him back to the airport with his suitcase to go get a rent-a-car, whatever. Baruch Hashem, we figured him out. But we're still in touch today. He actually saw the clip of the music video. He sent it to me. Anyway, so that was mamish Hashgacha Peratis. That was unbelievable. That was pure Hashgacha Peratis. I met this guy, and now we have more friends of yeshiva. I think that's unbelievable. That's number one. Number two, I mentioned this one to you as well. There's a particular guy in Lakewood that I was trying to get hold of, right? A very, very chashuv yid. And I wanted to give him the schus of helping out yeshiva. After all, it's a tremendous schus to help out yeshiva. It's who's supporting who, right? It's mamish holding up the oren held you. You don't hold up the oren, right? It's not pshat you're helping the yeshiva is helping you. But anyway, so this guy's a chashuv yid, very, very nice fellow. I want to get hold of him, and he's a busy guy. So I'm in Lakewood I was in Lakewood, what was it, for 2 days, I think, no? A day and a half, 2 days. I like to spend more time normally in Lakewood. I like Lakewood, right? I like Lakewood. So I like to spend a little bit more time there normally, but I didn't have so much chance this time because we were spending a lot of time in Brooklyn. Anyway, so I text this guy, maybe I can see you. Right now I'm not at home, I'm not in the office. It was almost impossible. I'm in a restaurant with two very chashvi Yidden who you know, right? Two very chashvi Talmidim who I love dearly, and I try always to go out with them when I'm there. And we're sitting in this restaurant, and I have to go to the airport because I need to get to JFK. JFK is a long way from Lakewood, right? It's an hour and a half, right? Barely an hour and a half. I wanted to give myself 2 hours because of traffic. There was traffic. I didn't want to, have any problems. And so I text the guy about half an hour before I'm about to leave Lakewood. This is my last chance. I don't know if I'm going to come back to America for another who knows how long, So, Lamaisa, do you have a few minutes to see me? So what does he text me back? I'm sitting in the restaurant that you're in right now. And I'm just like, what? Isn't this unbelievable? What? There are a few restaurants in Lakewood, right? There isn't like one or two. Kenai Nahara, there's a few restaurants in Lakewood, right? But out of all the restaurants, out of all the times, it wasn't even like a fancy restaurant. I don't have to say which one it was. It was a good restaurant. It was good Hashgacha, Baruch Hashem, right? Good Hashgacha. So Al Kaponim, there he is. He's standing over there, and I'm thinking to myself, which wealthy guy is going to want to speak to you in the middle of a restaurant? So sure, no problem. Let's sit down and have a schmooze. It was unbelievable. That you cannot get. If that's not Hashgacha Peratis, what is? It's just the most unbelievable thing. I'll tell you another story as well. A woman calls me on Erev Shabbos a few weeks ago. She's a balas tshuva, and I deal with a lot with her family, with her and her husband, different shaylas that come up, different things. So she has the following shayla. What's the shayla? Shayla is her sister is married to a goy, live in America. She lives over here in Eretz Yisrael. And the question was that her brother-in-law, this goy, is coming to Eretz Yisrael, is coming to Tel Aviv on business, and he was staying for Shabbos in a hotel, and he had invited them for Shabbos. I'd like to invite you, I never see you, the kids, it's so nice. I'll invite you to the hotel, I'll pay all the expenses, come to the hotel. So she's like, Rabbi, I know this is a really far shot, but can we eat in the hotel's Hechsha in Tel Aviv for Shabbos? So I asked a few questions about the Hechsha, whatever it was. The Maisa, there was basically no Hechsha. So I'm really, really sorry. In previous times, I have given certain neterim for them when their parents come, whatever. I'm not going into it now, but certain times require for certain neterim. But I said, this time, I cannot help you. To eat Shabbos food, meat, chicken, everything in this hotel with zero actual whatsoever, I push, can't do it. I felt really, really bad. She's like, Rabbi, you know what that means? That means I'm going to have to bring all my own food. This is really embarrassing. To the hotel, it's a fancy upscale hotel. Come with my own food to the meal. That's not really smart. So I'm really sorry. I just cannot help you. There's nothing I can do. So she said, fine. She was makabel, no problem. That's the psak. That's what I'm going with. That was the last I heard of it until about a couple of weeks later. The husband calls me up, says, Rabbi, I must tell you the end of the story. What's the end of the story? The end of the story was that they got to the hotel in Tel Aviv right before Shabbos. Mamish, 45 minutes, whatever it was. They didn't want to spend too much time hanging around over there. And they get to the hotel, they get to the checkout, whatever you check in. And the lady behind the desk says, do you have the corona tests for the kids? So she's like, what, corona tests for the kids? I need corona tests for my kids? It was too late to, Anyway, so she said, I don't have corona tests for the kids. Well, what should I do? You cannot come in this hotel. You cannot stay in this hotel without corona tests. It's Erev Shabbos. It's a half an hour before Shabbos. What do you want us to do? Stuck. Tel Aviv. They can't go back to Yerushalayim now. It's too late. So what are they meant to do? So that's what I did. We'll rent an apartment. We'll find an Airbnb, maybe close by. We'll stay nearby. We'll walk to the hotel. We'll say good Shabbos. We'll say hello to him, whatever. So they quickly find an Airbnb close to the hotel. It's mamish 20 minutes before Shabbos. They manage to locate one, they drive there, they get in there, and they realize, gewaldig. And then it hits them. Do you realize that we have all of the food for Shabbos? That if we wouldn't have asked the Shaila, or we wouldn't have listened to the answer, we would have had zero food for Shabbos right before Shabbos. Too late to go and buy anything, everything's closed. We would have had nothing to eat the entire Shabbos. But because, and the husband told me we weren't even going to ask the Shaila. We're like, it's vacation, vacation, there's a special letter now. We decided, absolutely not. We are going to bring all the food. And because they brought all the food, mamish b'Hashgacha Peratis, they're able to have food on Shabbos. Again, Hashgacha Peratis, you see it in your life. I'll tell you one last thing and we'll finish with this today. And Mitzvah Hashem, next time we'll go through all the stories, right? The emails that are coming in. And this is, again, a very, very simple one. I had to go and visit yeshiva for my son? Yeshiva Gedola, right? Somebody recommended you go. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to go to visit Yeshiva Gedola. Like, what am I going to see? I'm going to see guys learning. Wow. I'm going to know if this is the right yeshiva for my son. How am I going to figure this out? Right, I said, you know what? I was advised, I'm going. So I go. I walk into this medrash. Can I know? It looks beautiful. Everyone's sitting and learning. That's yeshiva, right? So what else am I meant to look at? And I'm thinking to myself, I'm sitting right at the back. I open up a sefer because obviously I have to learn something, right? And what am I doing here? What is the purpose of my visit right now? How am I going to see if this is a good yeshiva for my son? And then I heard English. All of a sudden I'm hearing English. I'm like, hold on a minute, you know, the ear picks up. With all the Hebrew, you pick up English. And I picked up English. I'm like, hold on a second, someone here is speaking English. So I go closer and closer. I see two boys are speaking English. I said, you guys are American? You whatever, you speak English? Yeah, sure. Can you help me? Sure, no problem. Which yeshiva did you go to? I asked them. And they said, the same yeshiva Ketana that my son was coming out of. And I said, this is unbelievable. One of the, there's hundreds of bochum in the space medrash. They're speaking English. They come from the same yeshiva that my son came from, which means they understand where he's coming from, they understand the yeshiva, what he's looking for. So that is Hashgacha Peratis. Cannot get better than that. Rabbi say, sometimes these things happen to us all the time. There's small things, big things. But when you learn to think about it, when you learn to focus on it, it changes your life in the fact that you see that the Rebbeinu Shalom is running the world. The Rebbeinu Shalom is running our lives. Everything that happens is because of the Rebbeinu Shalom. Rabbi said, please send me in stories. Next week in Mitzvah Shem, we're going to read these stories. office@basedavid.com. Please send them in. Mitzvah Shem, next week we'll read them. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.